Hello, everyone. I am 99.9% sure that, no one will show up to this because I decided to post it 2 seconds ago. Yeah, so there's that. Basically, I just wanted a camera on me so that I could stop scrolling TikTok and other social media sites and actually get words written. So if anyone does show up, that is the goal. The goal is to get some words written and to be productive. Normally, I would be on the AuthorTube Sleepover Party, but Savvy's not having it this week on the channel Savvy Writes Books. And so today is normally the day that I at least get something done because of her channel and the sleepover party that is, weekly that I participate in and stuff. And she's, not doing it this week. I have a sick kid and I'm exhausted because it's been a rough week because I have a sick kid, but I got him in bed. And I realized that I was doing way too much scrolling on social media and I needed a little accountability. So I was like, you know what better way than to go live and maybe have people watching me, and that will make me need to write these words. Right. So that's kind of what I'm doing here. Pretty sure my kid got me sick too, as evidenced by kind of the flesh in my cheeks and stuff. And the fact that my throat doesn't feel great. So if I'm not my normal peppy self, I apologize. I'm very tired and I'm not feeling quite myself, but I am still determined, regardless of that, to get some words in and to do some work this week. So I'm hoping that this accomplishes that, basically. If there is anyone who would like to comment in the chat or talk about whatever, I'm open to that. But mainly this is going to be sort of a write-in and, again, more accountability based and stuff. And anyone who wants to join as a host or a co-host, I don't know how that works. It's more than welcome to. Just let me know and I'll send you the link and we can hang out for a couple of hours and hopefully get some words in and get some stuff done like that. That's what I want to do. I want to get some stuff done. Lord have mercy. I feel like as soon as I clicked the go live button, everything decided to go crazy as far as social media stuff. Also, I subscribe to the Beacon book box. I know it's probably not as well known as things like Lit Joy or Fairy Loot or, Owl Crate or several other, very popular book boxes, especially for young adult literature. But they, hi, Morgan. I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you for coming. I literally was just like, I need to get some words done and I need other people to make me accountable so I'm not just scrolling on TikTok until I fall asleep. That's basically why I went live. So I'm sorry if I'm a little bit crazy today. But anyway, today I got my monthly Beacon book box subscription. Again, it's not as well known as some of the others, but I always promote it. And the reason that I promote it is because when I had my release of my young adult fantasy novel, Songs of Autumn, they were really good. They included a flyer in one of their boxes, even though they had books and stuff already chosen for that month, because I sort of reached out to them a little bit late. And they included material for my launch, and they were super good about everything. So of course I've kept my subscription up and I'm so excited because this month I got Trisha Levinsellers. new book, Blade of Secrets. And for those of you who don't read a lot in YA or YA fantasy, she wrote The Shadows Between Us, which is like, oh God, it's like one of my favorite books. Like I love it so much that I'm like, I want to read everything that she's ever written. So, and it was like a signed copy of the book and like all kinds of stuff. So that was really exciting too. Like that was really fun. Especially after the rough sort of week that we've had with little man, not feeling very well and not sleeping very well. And as you can tell by the bags under my eyes, I have not slept very well as a result. So all of that aside, I am really excited that we are going to be doing some live sprints and getting some words in. That is exactly what I wanted for the week. I just wanted to stay consistent and try to get some words in where I could, especially when I don't, when my son's in bed and my husband's not home because he's on shift and all of that. That's what's really good about like the sleepover party being every Wednesday is I have this sort of accountability. I know that there's like a set time where I can like write or do something that I need to do. And we didn't have it this week. So I just sort of hopped online kind of thing. But Morgan, I'm so glad you're here. And I hope you get 1 million words written. Maybe not 1 million, but like a ton. I hope you get a ton of words written. You always write so many words. I'm sure that even if I try to beat you, I will not in any of the sprints that we will be doing. So there's that. I need to pull up really quickly. I really like Dal's timer, the one that she has. That is the 20-minute countdown timer. That's like, it's got like the Northern Lights or something on it. I'm not quite sure. Let's see here. I'm going to make it theater mode so that when I share it, it'll not be weird. Sometimes I get into a good writing zone. I'm outlining right now, though. Outlining can be hard just because you're finding literally all of the plot bunnies. Whenever you're outlining, like you're literally finding every single thing that could go wrong and you're trying to figure out ways around it. So I totally get that. I'm not as good at outlining. I'm good at, because I developmentally edit books and stuff, it's like I know the big points. I know the parts where you need the rising tension and the falling tension. I know the major milestones, but as far as like outlining, especially chapter by chapter, I'm terrible. I'm terrible at that. I'm like, discovery writing and stuff, so good luck to you. You do get in a good writing zone though, Morgan, like you so do. I'm so jealous of the fact that you can just like crank out as many words as you do whenever you're in that writing zone. It's always hard for me. I'm always hesitant to put another word on the page. So it always like takes me longer to write words. So that's always something I've been very proud of as far as your writing journey is. You've always been really good at putting words in, let's see here. I am in my document now to be able to start doing some of the writing that I really desperately need to do. And my co-author is like texting me in the chat. And I told her, I was like, hey, I'm on a live stream, like doing this too. So I'm sure she's loving that. Mine has 2 POVs, so I'm trying to weave them together. It's tough and all. Thank you. Yeah, Guns and Smoke and Songs of Autumn, both of those books, one of which is published, the other is being published on July 10th. They're both actually dual perspective points of view. So I totally understand that, especially like when I was writing Songs of Autumn, it was dual point of view. But, of course, I didn't have a co-author. So it wasn't like I was just writing one perspective. I was writing both perspectives. And for me, it was about who is going to tell this part of the story more impactfully. Something that I learned, I think, in the process of writing and publishing Songs of Autumn was that chapters don't have to be all the same length. Like you could have a super short chapter and it be super impactful. Like think, this is going to date me probably, but like Twilight, what was it? New Moon, the second book, whenever it was just pages and it was like the names of the months because she was going through depression and you were just like, oh, I feel that, like that kind of thing. It was like literally no content, no writing content, but she made you feel the time passage. So there was like one chapter specifically in Songs of Autumn that was from like a totally random character's point of view, and it was very short. It was like a few paragraphs. Like it was very, very short, but it was impactful. And I really, really enjoyed including that in the book because it broke up the monotony of the dual perspective point of view. So that's definitely something to consider whenever, again, my developmental editing brain, just a tip. When you're looking at it from a developmental editor's perspective, it's kind of, you look at rising and falling tension, you look at, pacing and things like that, and breaking up that pacing can sometimes be really, really impactful in really important scenes. But with dual POVs, I definitely think the way to go is to say at every chapter, like, whose perspective is this going to be the most impactful from, instead of just writing it as like a relay race, if that makes sense. Because a break in pattern can actually heighten certain tensions. So just food for thought, I guess. I'm trying to weave them together. Yeah, it is tough. It is tough. It is tough. Hi, Abby. Hi, friend. I need to remember how to share my screen appropriately. Because I need to go into a writing sprint so I can get some of this done. Literally this live stream, I'm trying so hard to kind of like wake up and be peppy and stuff, you guys, because my kid's been sick for days. He's been sick for days. And this is the thing, these are the trenches. These are the writing trenches. This is when it gets hard, when you have a full-time job and you're the mom to a toddler who gets strep and he's not even 3. And so he can't articulate that his throat hurts and, stuff like that. And you think, oh, I'll never get those words in, right? Like you think I'm going to not be able to do it. And it's just, okay, well, I've given him his medicine and he's in bed and I have his monitor and now I need to stop scrolling TikTok and, do the thing, do the work, get down to the work. And that's the sacrifice that you make. So here it is, live and in color, 3D for your entertainment. A tired mom in scrubs who has not showered or changed since getting home from work and bringing her son to the doctor's appointment, trying to get the words in, right? So with that segue, I think let's go into our first writing sprint. I hope that we get a lot done. I hope I get a lot done. We're going to do a 20-minute timer. It's going to be Dow's timer from her channel. I really like her timer. It is like the Northern Lights or something. I don't know. It's really cool. It's really, really cool. But I'm going to go ahead and share that screen with you guys now. And Hello, everyone. We're back. We're back from the first.
February was
Dal?
Hello there, humans. I am Dal Cecilia.
Oh my god, it was her video. Another one of her videos came up right after, and I thought she was somehow on the stream, like hacking in, and I was like, "Where's Dal?" And got way too excited. Anyway, so I decided that to pep me up, I needed to wear one of my crowns. So Moira came out to play this one right here. This one. Yep. I got about a page written, a little over a page written on the last sprint. Tell me how all of you have done on the first sprint. There are a few people I want to say hello to in the chat other than Morgan, who I've already said hello to, and Abby. T.A. Woods is in the house. I feel so blessed that you're here tomorrow. Oh my goodness. Thank you for coming. I appreciate it, especially because I feel like, not quite as peppy as I normally am. And Audra, the lovely Audra, who has the best snacks and is always at the AuthorTube sleepover. She's here. I'm so excited. She normally tells me all kinds of productive things that she's doing, whether or not it's like sewing or the million things that she does. It's amazing. Underdog author is checking in. Billy, my friend, I haven't talked to you forever. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for stopping in. I appreciate it. And Alley Cat, I think that reading is just as valid for these sprints as writing is. So whatever it is you feel like you want to do to be productive is absolutely 100% fine. Precious Cousins, thank you so much for coming. Just be safe on your way home. We look forward to your word counts. Absolutely. Let's see. Morgan said she got 2 beats outlined. That's impressive as a F. Like for real though, because I'm terrible at outlining. So like impressive. Abby says I haven't written and probably won't. I'm working on some marketing stuff for Guns and Smoke launch party, considering the fact that that's our co-authored book that's being launched July 10th. I approve this message. Any marketing stuff obviously is still very productive. I'm just trying to get some stuff done in one of the chapters we're working on for book 3 currently in that series. I literally didn't write a single word, so hopefully next sprint I can get something done. You know what? Sometimes you just need to take a break. Like, it's cool. It's cool. I'm so happy you guys are here to help keep me accountable so that I'm not scrolling TikTok aimlessly for the rest of the day. I feel like I totally would have done that because I feel so like zonked from having a sick kid, and like I left work half day today to like rush home to bring him to the doctor this afternoon and then like get him home, and he was like just, he was sick, so he just wanted to be on me the whole time, and so it was just kind of it was just tiring, and none of us have slept because of it, so there's that too. Audra says, I was just sending work emails in the last sprint. That's productive. That's really productive. What are you talking about? That's amazing. You got some work stuff that you get paid for. So like, hello. Thank you. That's amazing. And Abby just says, smiley face. I don't know how to take that. Mostly because like me and Abby are best friends. So like, it could be sarcastic. It could be sincere. I don't know. Anyway, yeah, so I got about a page written, but I'm sort of in this weird point in book 3 where the character that I'm writing is having to console another character from a really traumatic event. And I'm trying to be really intentional about everything. And so that's been really hard for me. just to get the moments right, to make sure the tension is heightened enough, because they're trying to console this person after they just did a really horrible thing, and they're very traumatized over it. And I think that those emotions can feel really melodramatic if you're not careful with the tension in those scenes, or it could fall flat. And so it's kind of like finding that balance. So that's kind of what I'm struggling with a little bit here. But I did get quite a bit done in that 20-minute sprint. Like, I'm kind of really pleased with myself. By the way, if anybody wants to join me on stream so that y'all aren't just like listening to the crazy lady in the crown, like, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. I will DM you. It's all good. I'm really glad that you're all here to keep me accountable. Love that. My son did not cough or wake up in the entire last sprint, which makes me feel good that maybe his medicine is making him feel better now. Let's see here. Alley Cat says, I read 85% on Amari and the Knight Brothers. Also got dinner. Yes. Okay. That was really productive. You fed yourself, which is self-care, which is super important. And you read a ton. That's awesome. That is awesome, Alley Cat. I'm so happy for you. Yeah, and these writing sprints are going to be more, I guess, productivity sprints. I'm writing tonight, but like, if y'all need to send work emails or eat or like deal with your family stuff, like that still counts as being productive. So let us know what you do. It doesn't have to be like a word count or anything like that. As long as you are progressing in something, you're focusing on something, you're getting things done, you're meeting goals, like, yes. Yes. Also, I have to get back on TikTok. I really do. Like, that's the thing that needs to happen. But my DMs are scary on TikTok because I do this like men writing women series where I like read dramatically like quotes, horrible quotes written by men about women. And people, they send me quotes and it's horrifying. Like, literally the app tries to like censor them and I have to say like, it's okay, you don't have to censor them or whatever. So I gotta like find a plan for that. And I have to like clean my office. Have y'all seen this? Like, I have stacks of books everywhere and stuff. Like, it's crazy. My husband commandeered one whole section of this bookcase right here, this section, for his models that he's been painting for D&D. So I just have like stacks of books and stuff. And I got a book box today from Beacon Book Box. So like, I got another book and my TBR is like overflowing. Does anyone else have any of these problems? Like, I feel like there's just so much and there's no time in the day. I literally have not showered. I'm still in my scrubs from work, like wearing my little plastic ponytail from work and a crown because hello, a queen. But yeah, Abby, I can help clean. Oh Jesus, the fact that she knows how badly I need help is sad because she knows me IRL. She comes to my house. I have a double desk here. I have like my desktop with my streaming stuff, and then there's like a whole other section right here, which is like a second desk. And she comes over and poor Abby has actually cleaned this library / writing room or on more than one occasion. It makes me feel quite bad, but life is what it is. I feel like TBR overflow is a common reader problem. Yeah, but I don't know. It's like I buy the books to be on my TBR list, and then like when I go to be like, I need to read a book, I'm bored, whatever. Like, I don't choose one from my TBR list. Like, I choose one that's I have to buy, and it's a real problem for me. Like, does anyone else have that? And I feel like it's so wasteful. Like, I try not to be wasteful. I know there's a ton of different ways, like, not to be wasteful, but I do it anyway. And I am such, y'all, I don't know if y'all have gotten into the whole, like, fairy loot or exclusive covers craze or whatever, but like sprayed edges on a book. Like, if there's a special edition of a book that I already read, okay, on like Kindle or whatever, like maybe I downloaded it on my Kindle or on audiobook and I listened to it because I travel for work, so I'm in the car a lot, so I listen to a lot of audiobooks. So maybe I really liked it on audiobook and I'm like, I really liked that book, so clearly I need the special edition with the sprayed edges. It's like $60. Like, this is why I'm not rich. This is why. This is why. Like, there are a couple of sprayed edge books like in this stack right here. You see? One of them is black and one of them is red. Do you see them right there? That is Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, respectively. But still. Anyway. Let me know if you have any unhealthy book habits like I do, because that would make me feel good about myself. I feel like we should go into another sprint though, because I was pretty productive this last sprint. Even though it was just about a page that I got written, I feel like I was still really, really super productive about everything. Yeah. Let me see. How do I do this again? I love how I like forget how to do stuff randomly. I hate technology. I'm also going to just put that out there. I got Six of Crows, Shadow and Bone, and King of Scars at Costco this week, and I have audiobooks for the first two. So I have audiobooks of the entire series except for the last one, Rule of Wolves. It's really like I buy audiobooks of things if I'm not sure I'm going to like them. And then when I start an audiobook of a series, I feel like I have to finish the audiobook in the series, like, because I already have like a voice in my head for the characters and stuff. But especially in the case of like Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, I loved those books so much that I was like, I'm going to read these obsessively. And I've read them obsessively. I've obviously seen the series 4 times. Anyway, so there's that. And so like the first like 3 books I have on audiobook, I wasn't thrilled by them. Six of Crows, the duology, I loved. King of Scars, I really liked, but I'm sort of on the fence, and I'm like really kind of terrified about Rule of Wolves, so I haven't read it yet because I'm a little weenie. So the 2 that I really know that I loved, like, of course I spent money on that because I knew I was going to read those books a million times. I made my husband read them because I was like, you can't live in this world without knowing who Kaz Brecker is. Like, you can't continue to live in this world unless you know who he is, because I love him and I'm married to you, so you need to know why I love him. And he was a good sport and he read them and he really liked them. So I'm waiting to rewatch the series until after Shadow and Bone. Yes, definitely do that. Definitely wait, but really good. The show was really good. I was really, really pleased with it. I think a lot of the book readers were. So on that note, let us try and figure out here how to share this screen again. And we are going to do another 20-minute sprint. Let's try and be productive, whatever that means. Self-care, writing, reading, whatever. Doesn't matter. But let's get to it, guys. I love you all so much. Thank you for being here with me so much. All right, everybody. All right, so there is our second sprint done. Let me know how you did in the comment section. I highlight comments. Anyone who feels like they want to join as a host, let me know. I will DM you. I did less good this time around than I did the first time around, but I also had to like do real people stuff before I could actually start writing. How many of you guys write with playlists? Because I kind of like struggled to find the right song before I actually like found the right song to write and stuff. And so like I feel like that was part of my struggle for this second stream. So let me know how many of you guys like actually have to write to music or write with a playlist, because I feel sometimes like I'm one of the only ones. Let's see. I really love this show. The Crows Gave Me Life. Oh yeah, we're talking about the Shadow and Bone Netflix series from the books. That's what we were talking about before we went into that last sprint. I thought that the show was really good. Really good. I hated Mal as a character in the series, like in the book series, but seeing his perspective in the show made him a lot more relatable and likable, in my biased opinion. So there was that. I really did enjoy that with the show. And, you know, just, of course, seeing my baby Kaz, like, in action, because Lord knows I'm a simp for that fictional man. A turtle that is red popped in to say hi and good luck. She's snuggling with Mr. Turtle. You snuggle, Mr. Turtle. You snuggle that man. Jillian says, just realized this stream was happening. I've been sprinting on my own for the last hour. Really glad to have company. We're glad to have you. Yeah, this was so random. I basically was like, I need help to not scroll TikTok all night, so I'm just going to randomly just decide to go live. So that is the thing that happened. And we're really glad that you joined us. I'm glad that you joined us. We, as if there's a collective. I cleaned a chapter up, so that's progress. It is progress. It is progress. I feel like sometimes some of the most time-consuming things for me is like, especially during the editing phase, is when I literally just have to like sit with a chapter and figure out everything and exactly how I want to say it. And that can be really time-consuming. Just like copy edits, like developmental edits are like, hey, here's the big overhaul of all the rewrites and stuff you need to do, and that can be overwhelming for some people. That's not overwhelming for me. What's overwhelming for me is all of the like tiny little things for like copy edits, like your word choices and the comma placements and the whatever. And I feel like cleaning up chapters is kind of the same thing. Like it's really, really, really like very specific. So you have to give it such a level of detail that it's, you know. Audra wants to come on the stream. Okay, Audra, let me find you on Facebook. Are you on Facebook? Please tell me you're on Facebook. Please tell me I'm a friend of yours on Facebook. I'm going to try. We're going to see here. We're going to find out. Just because I know that y'all are probably really bored of just like listening to me talk. So there's that. It would be nice to see more than one person talking here. I am going to send you a backstage link. I just did it. Ha ha ha. There we go. Found some plot holes in my outline that I'm trying to figure out. Oh, yeah. Plot bunnies. Plot bunnies are the worst. I'm a playlist writer. Thank God. Thank God. Because, like, okay, so I have this one character, and it's so surprising because he's so sarcastic and lackadaisical and, like, just, he's got a lot of depth, but it's, like, very, very hidden. He's very, like, a Shades of Grey type character. But, like, his person that he like that it I'm inspired to write his character perspective is like Birdie. And I don't know if you guys know who Birdie is, but like Like it's like the almost like the girliest, what like the most that you would expect not to be that character's playlist aesthetic. That is him. And it always astounds me. But every time that I listen to a Birdie song, I'm like, oh, I'm inspired to write this character. And it's like super funny. I also worked on character development. Good job. I'm proud of you. You do so many amazing things. Audra, you do so many amazing things like all the time. I've got specific playlists for projects. I listen to them or to one song over and over until they become background noise. I cannot write to new to me music. So there's I agree with that and I don't agree with that. There was a song that I found surprisingly on a TikTok and I was like, what is this song? And I had to like find the song and I added it to my playlist and it is like my go-to song for like sexy scenes, like the spicy scenes now. Because I was just like, oh no, this is amazing. Like it's emotional and it's whatever. And it's, you know, it's got this like slow sort of thudding rhythm. And I've talked several times, I work in cardiology and there's like this theory in cardiology, right? That if you work out to certain songs, you actually get a better cardiovascular output. And there's been like actual clinical studies on this from like Ivy League, you know, Ivy League people and shit. And basically, it's like if you have a really hard downbeat at a certain beat per minute, then you're more likely to expend more energy to get a better cardiovascular like output. And I think that there is probably a correlation between like a heavier downbeat and a faster typing speed. And I've talked about this several times. It's a theory of mine that clearly I have not proven, but just from like my work experience to this, like I feel like it sort of is related a little bit. I might be able to hop on with you, but disclaimer, I'm very boring. No one is very boring. I don't scroll TikTok. Reddit is my time waster. So I'm not good at social media or YouTube at all, as evidenced by like the fact that I'm a very small YouTuber. But on TikTok, like people think I'm funny and like with it and cool and stuff for some reason. And so I spend a lot of my time wasted on that app. But yes, that is exactly why live streams aren't great. I'm 90% in my book now. That's awesome, Alley Cat. That's awesome. Let us know what book you're reading. Like maybe we want to read the same thing. Yes, I am friends with Savvy. I'm friends with you too. I have a playlist that's pretty chill that I write to for my cozies. And then I made a sexy playlist for drafting my spicy pen name. Exactly what I was talking about. There are certain songs that's got like that slow sort of thudding beat, you know, and they're sort of like emotional or whatever. Like, I don't really know how to explain it, but there are some songs that you're just like, this is a spicy scene song. That's what it is. It's what it is. I sent you a friend request on Facebook. I sent you a message with the link, Audra. AJ Whitehall, right? That was yours? Audra. AJ Whitehall. Yeah, because like we're friends on Insta. So I sent one to you. Check. There's like a what is it? Like a it's like a regular inbox, and then there's like an inbox for people I guess you're not friends with or whatever. Check that one. Because I sent you the link. I did. And Abby says power. Yes. I'm exactly talking about this song and several others, but this one specifically, because I talked to Abby at length about this song, Power, by I think it's Isaac Davidson. And he's, I think, a Scandinavian artist or musician. And like, oh my God, that song is sexy. It is spicy. I feel I need to get on TikTok just for the music. You know, there's a lot on TikTok to love because everyone is multidimensional, right? Like I have issues with PCOS and infertility. That's something I've always been really open with. I really like to cook, even though I rarely have the time to. I like cleaning TikTok. I like, the dancing TikTok because I used to be a competition dancer. I like the medical TikTok because I'm in like the healthcare field. Like there's a lot on TikTok to enjoy and just laugh at kind of thing locally and, just broadly. So I definitely think it's really cool. I swear I've only found new music through TikTok. I think that's so true. A lot of like the hits right now, like, what is it? No, I'm not going to remember it. But there's like a lot of songs right now that like first became popular on TikTok and now it's like they're in the top 20 and stuff like on like the national broadcast and stuff. And I'm like, this is insane. But also they have these really talented like individual just musicians that you would never really hear otherwise unless they were local to you on TikTok, which I think is really cool. Power is so good. It really is. It really is. Power by I think it's Isaac Davidson is a real. If you looking for something to write some steam to, that song is it. That song is it. Bridgerton the musical is also a thing on TikTok. I love it. I love it so hard. Darren Criss sang a piece from Bridgerton the musical on TikTok, and I was like, Darren Criss, Harry Potter from the Harry Potter musical from Star Kid sang the Duke Hastings part from the Bridgerton musical. That was like a fan thing on TikTok. That's amazing. I just realized the last song I added to my playlist, I first heard on a YouTube ad and I Shazammed it. I'm telling you, good songs come from everywhere. Audra, have you found my message yet? Anyone? You know what I'm going to do? Anyone who would like to join, I'm about to post the link in the chat, okay, instead of trying to DM you guys, so that if you want to come on the stream and act crazy with me and my gram. There you are! Audra! Thank you! Really?
Yeah. No, my Instagram, for some reason, the desktop Instagram wasn't showing up the messages, so I had to like email the link to myself.
Oh no! I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's okay.
So I get to meet you in person. Yeah! I'm fangirling. I feel like I've known you forever.
I know.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming onto my random ass live stream.
Yeah. The Gemini is always keen to like hop on. Yeah. And I have a cider and tea.
She has the best drinks and the best snacks of anyone I've ever met. Every time that we're like, this is what's happening, she's like, hold my beer. My IPA local microbrew beer.
Yeah. I do have a local brewed lager in my fridge. But
I knew it.
Yeah.
I knew it.
The only hard stuff I have right now is gin. I'm kind of getting low on the hard stuff right now.
Well, you have my respect because gin.
Yeah, I don't do it all the time, so I'm gonna stick to this tonight. But
I'm drinking.
It makes me happy.
In my Mr. Krabs from the Krabby Patty wine glass, because my rainbow shrimp wine glass I think is still in storage somewhere from the move like a year ago.
Yeah, I moved a while ago, and then my parents moved just after that. So yeah, that was crazy. So a few things got like hidden.
We have another addition to the stream. What? Jillian! Hi! Welcome!
Hi.
Hi.
I just had to mute the stream very quickly so that there
So you
wouldn't be
weren't
an
hearing
echo.
doubles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that. Where are you from, Jillian?
I'm from New Zealand. I'm in the South Island, and
I
it
was
is
gonna
daytime
say.
here. So I
was
feel
gonna
like
say
I'm.
You sounded like you were from New Zealand. My husband wants to move there desperately.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
My grandparents have good friends in New Zealand. I forget what island they're on.
We have a lot of friends in Australia, but my husband has always wanted to move to New Zealand, but we've always kind of been more country folk, like, so we've always kind of wanted to be more remote and stuff. We live in the deep south of Louisiana right now, in the United States. And so like we have some land and things, but like not nearly enough, I think, for his tastes.
I'm in Canterbury, so I'm in a rural district, and there are to be like the stereotypical New Zealander, there are actually sheep in the paddock over there.
I love it so much. I want chickens so bad it hurts. Like I want chickens so bad it hurts.
Chickens are fun. I had them growing up, but I grew up in the suburbs.
Yeah.
So I think we were technically not supposed to have chickens, but we had them anyway. Yeah, because I'm a city girl. I live in the suburbs of San Francisco, in that huge San Francisco Bay Area. So
I live with my mum and stepdad. My mum, her entire life, has wanted to raise hens. Last year, she got her hens. So age 64, she made her dream came true. She's now living the life. We have a whiteboard that has a tally of like how much eggs we've got. We're up to 700 something.
Oh my God, I love it. I love it.
She is so cute. She makes porridge every morning for the hens.
It's really cute. My dad has chickens, and so my son, whenever he goes, he's like not even 3 yet. And he's been going, obviously over to my parents' house for a long time. But since he was kind of like mobile around 1.5 age, like my dad would walk him out into the back to where like the chicken coop and stuff was. And so like he knows how to like get the eggs out of the chicken coop. And he's like so excited. Like he comes home and he's like, eggs. And he like brings me the eggs that he like got from the chicken coop and all that stuff. It's really cute.
Yeah.
My husband and I have wanted chickens for a really long time. I want Easter eggers, so they have all kinds of different colored eggs, because I'm extra like that. Hello, the crown. The crown. Does that give away how extra I am? Anyway, but I was like, I want some Easter eggers so we can get like yard eggs and whatever, and just like a couple of them because we don't need a ton, for our house and our family and whatever. And we couldn't have it at the house that we had before COVID because there were like rules with the HOA and the subdivision and whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay. So we moved. We moved in the middle of a pandemic so I could get chickens. It is happening. Okay. I don't know when, but it's happening.
Yeah.
That is awesome.
Yeah, we had chickens in our backyard growing up. We never had too many because we were in the suburbs. Mm-hmm. But yeah, we had a chicken coop my dad built. They shared the chicken coop with outdoor rabbits because we couldn't have indoor rabbits because I'm allergic. And it was when my mom did daycare for the longest time. So it was when she did it was after school care. So we had a bunch of like school age kids and would be like from 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a lady who's lovely enough to watch our son before and after school. So
that's what my mom did for a long time. She basically did it when me and my brothers were school age, and then once we were all out, she was like, all done.
Yeah.
But yeah, she would have us take care of the chickens, and
I
get the
keep
eggs.
asking my husband because I really want like a Highland cow. Like one of the
Those
long-haired
are so
Highland cows.
adorable.
They're so cute. And I'm
They
like,
are so
we
cute.
could get a pygmy Highland cow. Like, it won't be that big. And he's like, it's a cow. It's going to get big. Like, we have no room for it, Lauren. Like, stop it. And I'm like,
The only
one
issue,
cow. Just one. And he's like, are you trying to make me? So his name is Jonathan, but I call him John. And he's like, you're trying to turn me into Farmer John. And I was like, absolutely. That is my goal in life. Like, yes.
it might be a little hot.
goal.
It might be a little hot where you are for a Highland Coo.
Well, we have several actually people who breed and own Highland cows. There's a big Scottish population actually in Louisiana that people don't realize. I'm Scot-Irish, and a lot of like sort of the history, I guess, there is like after the Battle of Culloden Moor, and England started sort of trying to oppress like the Tartans and the Celtic language and all of that. There were several Scots who were sort of run out of Scotland, who had to sort of immigrate to Ireland, right? And they lived there for a little while, but everyone there hated them because they weren't Irish. So around the time of the potato famine, a lot of Irish and a lot of Scot-Irish people actually like immigrated to Louisiana through New Orleans. That's how my family got there.
My family has a similar-ish story. Because I'm like, my mom's side is basically British Isles.
Yeah.
My dad's side is like Eastern European, and both sides have some German thrown in.
Yes. So like basically my ancestry is like Creole, Cajun, French, and Scot-Irish, because of the people who kind of like came over sort of during the potato famine. And that was kind of like in New Orleans at the time. It was kind of it was really bad. Like Irish people were dying in like the thousands or whatever, like building the levees in New Orleans that still today like stand and sort of withstand like the storms and everything. And it was that whole like no Irish need apply, like sort of discrimination and stuff happening. Like that was kind of like my family came in sort of in that swath. And so there's actually sort of a Scottish population in Louisiana that people don't realize, because there's so many. This is what I love about where I live in the United States, is the fact that like Louisiana is definitely, especially south as I live, is like a melting pot. You have, Creole, Haitian, African, Irish, Scottish, like you name it. And like, there are people there and we all just love each other. And we've sort of all sort of gotten the Louisiana treatment of our cultures, I guess, to where we're sort of all one big sort of melting pot.
Yeah.
And I think that everybody just kind of loves everybody else. And that's kind of what I grew up knowing and what I love about where I live, Yeah.
I live for similar reasons, because it's not quite there yet, but it's kind of starting to turn into that with everyone moving here for Silicon Valley and all that.
Yeah. So you live in California.
Yeah, I live in Silicon Valley.
She like fancy. She lives like in California. I'm over here like, I want chickens.
Tamara in the chat is saying that they want chickens, but their fiance wants bees.
I know people who have.
I know people who have bees.
Same.
So my cousin has bees.
Yeah.
My cousin has bees, but I don't understand this because he hates honey, but he decided to take up beekeeping as a hobby. And so he winds up with just like buckets and buckets of honey that he then gives away. His boss was like, I want to make mead. And Robert's like, okay, do you want some of my honey?
Mead.
Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, I have so my husband's a first responder. He's a firefighter. And a lot of the firefighters in the area are like ex-military who kind of got into firefighting as they like transferred into civilian life because it's a similar sort of ranking system. So it's a little bit of a soft transfer into civilian life into the workforce for them there because it's still like a service industry. They're still in the service of the
And
public.
it still has all the structure.
And the structure, right.
My aunt's ex-boyfriend, who she dated forever, it was a fireman.
Yes. And so that was you know, that's kind of a thing I think in the fire department and just as a whole. But one of the guys that he worked with on a crew for many years, he actually like he had his own bees, but he also like made his own like beer and wine and stuff. Like so it was kind of like he had like a couple of acres, so the bees were kind of like far away from the house. He could go and tend to them where it wasn't like they were right up on the house and stuff or whatever. And like he could make mead or he could like use that, you know, or he like bottled his own honey and he could like sell it at farmers markets and whatever. And it was just like a hobby he had because firemen also they're on shift work for many years until they kind of get higher up, you know, in their career and stuff. It's like a shift work type scenario. Yeah. So there's like days on end where they just like have nothing to do and they need things to do.
I think right when we're in my area, I think it's 4 days on, 4 days off or something like that.
Yeah, my husband is like that. He's so it's like 24-hour shifts. So it's 24 hours on, 24 hours off, and it does that until you get 4 days of 24 hours on, which is like 8 days total. And then he gets like a stretch of 4 days off. But he also works for a second fire department part-time where he picks up 12-hour shifts. So like he could come home after a 24-hour shift and they go right on to a 12-hour shift. And we just like won't see him for 2 days or 3 days or whatever, just depending on how those go. And he's also certified in urban search and rescue. So he like goes with our dog who is we have this really sweet border collie. She's a red border collie that we bought many years ago from a breeder, like a very conscientious breeder because we had like rescued puppies from puppy mills. Like this was not that situation, but we wanted a purebred border collie because you know, not only my husband had just finished his first hip replacement surgery. And so he needed a therapy dog, but at the same time, like we wanted a dog that was one that he could train for urban search and rescue. So he like brings the dog with him to like do all that stuff. And like when there's natural disaster or something, like he goes out with the dog.
Yeah.
Hang out. So, you know, I joke with people and I'm like, yeah. And then he's like on break from being a hero. He's like, you know, being a hero.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, so great for my anxiety.
Yeah. When I was looking for my dog, part of what I was thinking, I was like, oh, I was getting it for me, but I was like, if it's just the right temperament, I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
So if it was just the right temperament, I'd get it certified because I'm working on my special ed credential right now. So, but my dog is not quite the right, the dog I ended up with is not quite the right temperament, because she gets super scared and skittish around people she doesn't know. So not quite the right for that, but I got her for me, not for the kids.
Too, though. I have Florence Nightingale syndrome. I just want all the animals. I'm like, hey, John, can we get this goat? And he's like, no.
My mom's like that. And they actually moved. So I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area. So it's weird seeing it turn from like small town suburby to like more metropolitan over my lifetime. And I've seen that change. Like there was a horse race track down the street from my parents' house. It's now a new like housing development thing.
Yeah, so you're like getting up there.
Yeah.
You like being fancy and stuff.
Yeah. So I'm like, I've seen it kind of, it's weird that I've seen this all happen in my lifetime. So my parents moved out to the greater Sac area where it's a little bit more country. And there's like their housing development is surrounded by I think it's state park. It's either state or county park, and it's all these hiking trails that builders are not allowed to build on. And how they keep the grasses short to prevent fires is one of the local farmers comes and brings his goats.
I love
and
that.
moves the goats around.
Goats for the win, y'all.
So I love driving when I get close to their place. I'm like, oh, there's the goats today. Okay.
That's cute.
And
That's really cool.
I do see on the road out there, and it's nice because it's just one. I just have to take one highway up to this one highway, and then I'm on that for 90 miles.
Oh, that's
so it's a nice, easy drive. And there's a few bee farms on my drive, but I never see like buy honey off the road. I usually get it from. So my vegan cousin has a friend who owns bees and treats the bees ethically and all that.
I can't even tell you that like there are people in Louisiana that can't give away their produce from their summer gardens like fast enough before they go bad. Yeah. Like it's like one of those things like, hey, you want blueberries? Because I got like 4 pounds and I don't know what to do with them. And I'm like,
we just had a lemon tree at my parents' old house, and we always got a shit ton of lemons. So during last summer, we were stuck in quarantine, and my mom gave me a lemon cookbook and was like, make all the lemon stuff you can think of.
Oh, tarte au citron is a French pastry. It's like a lemon custard with a pastry sort of outside. And you can put like fresh whipped cream or chocolate shavings on it. Super good. Let me tell you that people literally bought lemons and brought them to my house and said, please, God, make me this tart. And I was like, okay. I thought we were watching a movie. Yeah, we're watching the movie while you make the tart. Like,
yeah, one of the things I made that turned out good was lemon upside down cake.
That sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? Okay, so before we go into the next sprint, not to cut anyone off, but because I got to keep some structure and I need to be a little productive today. Let's talk about Audra and Jillian. What are you working on during the sprints?
Okay, I guess I'm going first. Hi, I'm Audra. I go by the pen name AJ Withall. I also do costumes, and my Instagram handle for my costumes is Noble Storm Costumes. And I am kind of in between projects because my project I was working on, I'm kind of like need a break from it. I'm in the editing phase of that. So I'm actually doing my character profiles for a new project that's based on, I'm doing like an odd combination of Celtic mythology and world history that I'm inspiring from. Drawing inspiration from. I can use words. It's the end of the school year.
Isn't it hard? It's hard. I do this every week with Savvy. It's so hard. And every time I mess it up.
I'm also a teacher, and it's the end of the school year. I have to do math quickly. I think we're at 1, 2, 3, 4 plus 9 is 13. We have 13 days of school left.
Yay.
You're doing great. All right, Jillian, what are you working on tonight?
Yeah.
So, hi, I'm Jillian St. Kevin. This is my pseudonym. So I write all sorts of nonsense as Gillian St. Kevin. Right now, I'm working on the 5th book in my Deep Magic series, which I think I started 2014, 2015. Unfortunately, I cannot work on it right now because I have a copy editing project that has a tight deadline, and so that is what I am working on today. I'm being a responsible adult. Yeah.
Dang it. Responsible adultness sneaking up on you.
Yeah. I was
do you
doing that for
prefer-
the lot until 7:30, and now
Do
I'm
you
like,
prefer to be called Jillian, or do you prefer the she or they pronoun? I saw that in your parentheses, and I just kind of wanted to ask about that. Real
I
quick.
am happy to be called anything. So
So if I call you
with
my
the
love or darling or sweetheart, that's all
Yeah.
good. Because Southern hospitality and stuff, I just normally say that.
I used to teach English in Japan, and I had a friend from, I think she was from Florida. Yeah, she was from Florida, and she called me ma'am. And I just thought that was the cutest thing because I'd never been called that in real life. I didn't think it actually happened, and I loved it.
Okay, we're really going to go into a sprint after this, but you said that, and I have to tell this story. So, like, I work in healthcare, I work in cardiology full time, and I see patients in clinic. And a lot of our patients are obviously patients who are having issues with their heart. Typically, that is going to be an older patient overall, someone who's 70, 80, 90 years old, 50 plus at least, right? And a lot of our patients are like, I know, Jill, we're going to sprint soon. Promises. I promise. Okay, so I see a lot of really older patients. And I am not a really older person. I'm not even remotely older, right? And so I was having this interaction with a man literally on Monday of this week, and he was clearly like 70 plus, okay? Clearly my elder. And so with respect, I called him sir the entire time. And whenever like time came for him to leave, he called me ma'am. And I was like, oh, shot through the heart, right? But here's a fun fact. In the state of Louisiana in the United States, which is something that a lot of people don't know, is that we actually had a governor for a long time, like throughout my formative years, that made it a law in Louisiana that school children had to call their elders like sir and ma'am. And so it's like very, very ingrained in the culture that regardless of whether or not they are older or younger than you, you have to call them sir or ma'am in a professional setting if you don't know them on like a personal level. And so I was like, hey, you don't have to call me ma'am. You just call me Lauren or whatever. And he just got the biggest smile on his face just because it was like I was saying, hey, this doesn't have to be professional. Like we can be personal friends or whatever, like culturally. And like, it literally made my whole life. Literally made my whole life. But I was like, I'm having a birthday soon. Like, please don't call me ma'am.
I'm having my
like,
birthday.
I know you're being polite. I know it's a cultural thing. But like, I'm having a birthday soon and I'm anxious about it. And I really don't need you to call me ma'am.
I'm not. Yeah, my birthday's coming up too. And I'm not anxious about it yet. It is the big 30.
Okay.
I've got the big 40 in December.
You're a baby.
Yeah.
I'm so old. It's unreal.
But I remember I have a good friend who lives just outside of Charleston. I think she might be in Charleston now. But
it's Southern for sure, but like in Louisiana, it was an actual legal law.
Yeah, I noticed that a lot when I was there. The sir and ma'am.
Yeah.
And miss.
Yeah. So it's definitely a thing. Like even if somebody is younger than you, you're like, ma'am, sir, miss, Mrs. Like you just, it's just a thing. But like, I literally was like.
Whereas out here in California, when I taught high school, my high school students would jokingly call me ma'am. Like not, they meant it as a joke.
Well, and what's funny is like I knew he was trying to be polite and he was sincere about it. Like there's like body language and tone and stuff that comes into like interactions like that, right? You can tell when somebody's being sarcastic or mean or cruel to you. Like this was clearly not even the case. Like this man was literally just being respectful and polite and having like a great interaction. I felt like, oh God, I feel old. So I was like, you don't have to call me ma'am. You can call me Lauren. And he was just like, really? And I was like, of course. You just call and ask for me anytime you need us. Like, whatever. Just don't fucking call me ma'am.
Yeah.
You know.
Whereas my students keep trying to get me, can't we call you by your first name? And I'm like, nope. Not until you graduate.
Degree, you little.
Once you graduate high school, you're allowed to call me by my first name.
Right.
That's my rule.
All right. So seriously, we need to go into another sprint. Yeah. Otherwise, I'm going to talk all night because I enjoy way too much talking to you guys. So I am going to pull up the timer. And we are going to work on our projects. Anyone in the group chat that wants to tell us what they're working on or what their goals are for tonight, we are 100% down for that. Let's get some words written. I think that we can be super productive and have a really good time. All right. And 3, 2, 1. All right, everybody. Another stream writing sprint complete, writing thing. God, I can't even talk. Let us know how you all did during that 20 minutes.
I did pretty well. I think I got 3 full pages of my copy edit done.
That's really good, especially for a copy edit. I feel like copy edits are always the hardest for me because it's so detailed. So that's super impressive, Julia. Super impressive. Audra, what did you get done?
So I'm stuck on the name of my MC for this new project because I've already made 2 of the characters. Because the story doesn't center too much around the MC. Like we're following the MC, but the story doesn't center around the MC. So I did the 2 characters the story kind of centers around first, and now I'm doing the MC, and this is the hardest name.
I have found, just in my own personal experience with writing and editing and publishing, and even with my developmental stuff, that if you just sort of put a placeholder name for now and you continue to write, you'll find the name that feels appropriate and you'll be able to sort of plug it in later. Because that's definitely not something that I think should hinder the forward progress. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like for example, for my Songs of Autumn young adult fantasy novel, a lot of my characters, they had normal names, but slightly weird as opposed to slightly medievally, to where it was they had normal nicknames that were really, really easily digestible to younger readers, like Matt and Liz and things like that. But their full names were actually something that was a lot more world building relevant kind of thing. And that was something that was sort of figured out in draft 2, draft 3. Just as food for thought.
Yeah. I did that with the project that I'm taking a break from. My main character of that used to be Emma.
Yeah.
And now it's Esther. That was 10 years of development. And I like to pick at least a placeholder name that I kind of like and is kind of in the right
Oh,
flavor.
no, that's totally valid.
Yeah.
All of the nicknames that I had for my characters stayed the same, but then their full names, I was like, I'm gonna figure that out later.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't use names, but I use a descriptive thing. I had an antagonist, and even before I knew his name, I knew what he was like. So he started off as Crocodile in square brackets, so I could cut and Control F once I knew what his name actually was.
Maybe I should just put MC for now.
Yeah.
I would choose a trait that's really strong to that character or something.
You get excited about, the drafting stuff you get excited about.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is you don't want to stop the excitement for the drafting phase, because that's the hardest thing to capture, is that enigmatic thing about starting a new draft, about I have this idea of how it's going to start and whatever. You need to just write it out. You just need to put it on the page. You don't need to worry about places and names and what. I have literally done parentheses, insert fight scene here, move on.
I've done that too.
Just to get it out.
Yeah, my current draft of my other project, I just want to finish this editing round before I put it on hold. So there's a few scenes I need to rewrite. So right now I have in italics, I put need to rewrite this section from the first draft.
I think after the first draft of Songs of Autumn, when it was named something totally different, when I was finally done with the first draft, and it was, I'm gonna tell you guys, it will never see the light of day. Like it will never see, this first draft will never see the light of day. Like at the end, I think I have an Instagram post of the last page where I literally just put, finally, this dumpster fire of a first draft is done. Like, finally effing done. Like, and I think I posted it on Instagram because I was just so happy it was over. So, you know, that's the thing I think a lot of newer writers don't understand is like that first draft, it's literally the bones of a story. It is not the theme. It's not the final writing. It's not the character development. It's not the world building. It's not any of that. It's literally just figuring out what the story even is before you even get into anything. You know, it's the bare bones of the story. And I can't tell you how many drafts I did after that.
I think I realized that with my first draft of my other thing, because that was a project I had started in college and kept starting to write, but never actually finished the draft until last year. I finally finished that draft.
Congratulations, though. That must have felt really good to finally finish a draft.
It did feel so good to finally finish the draft of that. Because I've been working on it off and on since college. It's just times when I get more busier. When I went back to get my teaching credential and all that, like shit didn't get done on it.
Yeah.
So, and I remembered like my initial like what was supposed to be like my first draft back in college. When I initially tried to start the first draft was a dumpster fire. So I have to say when I got to the actual first draft, it was the first part was at slightly okay. Just because I had rewritten that part so many times over the years.
Like you were like, this has been something I've thought of every day for 3 years. So clearly this is good, but everything else is whatever.
Yeah, everything else was a dumpster fire
totally
in that first draft. But like that first like couple chapters were okay.
Yeah. Let's go to the chat real quick. Morgan said good night. She's going to bed. Good night, Morgan, with your amazing self, with your outlining and your words and all of the wonderful things you do. Tamara also told you good night. Klacha says another writing thing. Yeah. Yeah, me. Don't quote me ever because it's horrible. Because I don't know what I'm doing. I just am here for a good time, not a long time. It's a
do
thing.
any of us know what we're doing?
Like it's so real with me though. Like it's so funny because on the Audra can tell you on the AuthorTube sleepover like Wednesday night things, like people quote shit that I say like legitimately all night. They're just like quoting things that I say, and I'm just like,
I usually go quote of the night, and it's something.
It's usually some shit that I said. Like I just exist here in this space. I know nothing. It just happens organically. I messaged a boy and plugged in a fan. You know what? Get it, queen. Overall, 8 for 10 for the sprint. That is a success.
That's a B.
Actually, I, as the queen, am going to override that. I'm not an education professional. I'm going to say that's an A+. My God. That's the queen rules, not the education rules. Because Audra has the she knows all of that more than I do. Finished reading my book and wrote 36 words.
Yay!
Get it, Alley Cat. Yes, you finished a book and you wrote words. That's amazing. Hearts, kisses, all of the amazingness. That is great. I am so glad that the finishing of the book did not emotionally wreck you to the point where you could not write the 36 words, and you actually accomplished 36 words. I am usually the reader that is like, I need a hot minute to cool down after I finish a book.
Me too.
So, like, props on props on props. Jillian said nice, and that she is overachieving, which is like absolutely 100% accurate. And then T.A. Woods, Tamara said, I finished a chapter and I'm going into a new one. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's so awesome.
So I forgot
I did
this little one.
nothing.
I fed my doggy because I didn't get to feeding her dinner at the normal time because I finished work at 5 and then I had a 5:30 meeting for a theater gig I just got hired for. So I was like,
Oh, puppy.
Legitimately was like staring at my chapter and I was like, I don't know what's happening.
and one of her favorite toys. I think this group would appreciate. Oops.
Oh, so okay, fun story. I guess fun story. My son is not yet 3. He's about 2.5. And he's not feeling well because, stress and things and whatever, which is why, like, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to stream tonight with the sleepover party. Like, I was legit, like, I have a sick kid. I'm probably going to pull an all-nighter. And then I was kind of like, he's sleeping pretty good. He's not coughing that much. Like, I think I want to try and get some stuff done. So I did the live stream. Well, when he was born, one of my husband's cousins like came to visit us in the hospital. This is pre-COVID. It was like 2018-ish. And she gave us one of those wubba-nub things. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like it's like a little character, like a little stuffy character that has a little noonie attached to the mouth kind of thing.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Little kids, like an infant's thing. And
yeah.
It was a dragon, and I'd never seen one before. It was a green dragon with a little noonie attached to its mouth. And so me being high on all of the medications, but having a C-section, I was like, it's Puff, the magic dragon, which is super appropriate to call my son's new toy, right? Anyway, so I was like, Puff, whatever. He loved it, was given it literally the day he was born. Like, she came to visit us the day he was born and had this present with her. He has had that wubba-nub from the day he was born until today. He cannot sleep without it. He cannot do anything without it. It is his comfort item if he is scared or sick or hurt or whatever. He needs Puff. And of course, at a certain point, it did not become appropriate for him to have like the noonie part anymore because he kind of outgrew that. So we just like cut it off kind of thing. We have like replacements that we had to buy off of Amazon because God forbid we lost it.
Yeah.
And differentiate between the original and the replacements.
Yeah. My niece, I don't think ever had an item like that. But it's funny because my parents, one of their dogs has an item like that where if he doesn't have that toy, and I'm like, I've never had a dog so attached to a specific toy. Like, I've seen it in kids before.
But it's literally, it's like we washed him once. Okay, because he gets dirty. He'll drag him through jam or in the dirt, or he carries him everywhere, And so, like, he gets dirty. So, you'll wash him occasionally because you're like, I don't want my kid to be, like, carrying around and like, holding next to his face this tiny little stuffed dragon that's, like, literally mud, right? For 2 weeks after we wash him, he cannot sleep. Like, it's a thing. It is horrific.
Yeah,
it's horrible. And like, I don't even know how to like function in life without Puff the dragon. Because of me being high on medication during my C-section, that is what he was named, and that is what my son knows him as, and it is a thing. So that's a fun story that I feel like is appropriate there.
My the dog toy, the first couple times it got washed, because he drags it through the mud, he accidentally pees on it sometimes. Like the first couple times it was washed, he was like, where is it? He was freaking out. But then now he's used to it occasionally disappearing for a little bit and getting washed.
Not my son. I literally will be like, let's wash him in the bath with you. Like, let me just put soap and water on this thing. He's like, it looks different. It smells different. It feels different. I don't know. I don't know what the thing is, but oh God. Oh God. Oh God. And like, I have no idea how we're going to break him of this, or if I want to, because it's one of those things where it's like, he's so little and it's cute.
At the time it's little and cute, but then when he's a kindergartner and has to go to school.
Yeah, but he's not even 3 right now.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, I can let you enjoy your little comfort stuffy for a little longer. Like,
yes,
I'm just starting the podcast. It's not, you're not a grown up yet.
Yeah. One of my students, he brings Sonic in his backpack, so it stays in the backpack.
Yep.
And he forgot it one day at home. Yeah. He's a kindergartner, so yeah.
Yeah, my mom was a kindergarten teacher for like 25 years. She was a speech therapist first. Then she went into kindergarten, and then she went into basic communications and theater at a middle school level after that.
So this is my first year as kinder.
She taught children to read for many, many years, like especially when I was young. And so I was reading at a college level when I was 4. And literally the entire school system was like, I don't know what to do with your kid.
I struggled with reading and writing because I went through a bilingual immersion program. I went to a Spanish-English bilingual immersion school. And that is just, the program was super hard for me. So even though I'm first language English, I only grew at home, only English is spoken. Like parents know like a couple words. They've picked up a couple words of Spanish over the years, having 3 kids go through this program. But
I read a webtoon today. But he had in one of the bubbles a random Spanish phrase from it was like one of the main characters went into a restaurant where one of the restaurant workers was Spanish, and they said, hija de puta. And I went, I know what that means.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Yeah.
I was like, yes.
Yeah. But basically, because that wasn't the right system for me, I basically had some things that English language learners usually have, but I'm not an English language learner. So, yeah. So I struggled with that. I was really good at math. In 5th grade, I had a high school level math comprehension level.
I was really good at languages. I actually went to college and I minored in Spanish.
Yeah.
So when you said that, I was like, I know from Spanish.
Yeah.
I am better at written Spanish than spoken Spanish, though, obviously.
I'm better at written and understanding Spanish.
Yeah.
Because I don't practice it enough, so my spoken Spanish.
I'm not good at conjugating verbs like in conversations.
I'm okay at that because, like, the program I was in taught me that, and I can hold a conversation. It's just sometimes can't do it quickly, and sometimes the vocabulary escapes me.
Yeah, and how fast it is, that also is a thing for me.
Yeah, but what's nice is I can since I usually work at.
I also know conversational ASL, so anyone who is watching the stream who may be Deaf, it's nice to meet you. And my name is Lauren. So there's that.
Yeah.
So do conversational ASL as well. Not fluent, but still.
Yeah,
languages, not great at languages.
Yeah, what's nice is, I was better at math, but I hated math.
Yeah.
And like, at least now with my Spanish level, I can do parent-teacher conferences, which I'm in California, so I have high Spanish-speaking population here. So I can at least do parent-teacher conferences without having the district hire a translator for me, which I
minored in Spanish because I wanted to teach English as a second language students, because I majored in English education, and then I minored in theater because I had a performance-based scholarship, and then I minored in Spanish because I wanted to teach English as a second language students. But I didn't pursue that after a little while. I feel like after high school, I got a pretty comprehensive education in Spanish, but I realized that I wasn't quite good enough at it to become fluent, and I was like, let's not pursue that.
I got pretty good at Japanese while I was living in Japan, but of course, since coming back to New Zealand, I've lost most of it.
Yeah.
But I got to.
The thing with languages is it's one of those skills that you have to keep up. It's not one of those things.
Use it or lose it.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that it's if you're not doing it all the time, it's very easy to sort of become complacent and not remember.
I've noticed with Spanish
Japanese is really, really exciting. I have wanted to learn Korean for many years now.
Yeah, I was actually interested in teaching English abroad, but never actually did it. But
I did it for 11 years. So any questions, if you decide you want to take it up, I'm game.
Jillian's I got that.
Yeah, my only issue right now is I have a dog now. So, which would be difficult because I wouldn't want to. Worst case, my parents would probably take my dog, but I don't want to do that.
It's heartbreaking when I had to leave our dog to go back to Japan. She would see the suitcase in my room and she'd know what was coming, and she would sit on it and she'd just be so sad. And we had to come up with all of these strategies to 1 year. We got my aunt and uncle to take me to the airport. So we drove up to a restaurant where we were meeting our aunt and uncle, and I jumped out of the car with my suitcase, gave Mum a hug, and they drove off before the dog could realize that I hadn't gotten back in the car. And yeah, it was rough.
Yeah.
But and while I was in Japan, I couldn't have pets because the apartments I was in, they were really strict on that. And we complaining to this, I guess sort of our handler, that I really wanted a pet and couldn't have one. And she said, there are pets you can have in an apartment. You can have a fish or a bird or a rhinoceros beetle. And I was like, what? a rhinoceros what? And she was like, yeah, lots of kids in Japan raise beetles. And I was like, that's really cool.
That's really effing weird. Oh my God.
A week later, I returned from school to my apartment.
Beetle? No, wait.
So I returned to my apartment.
A rhinoceros beetle right now.
Yeah, they're also called kabutomushi. So if rhinoceros beetle doesn't turn up results, try that. But I get home from school and there was
one of the first
brilliant
recommendations. So we're gonna share this shit because
as Jillian this is her story.
Yeah, so I get home from school, there was this tiny little Tupperware container in a plastic bag hanging from my
Look at it.
Yeah.
It is scary. That is the thing that nightmares are made of. You could have one of those.
Yeah,
but not a
and I
dog.
I did. This little Tupperware container was full of dirt, and there was this little blobby slug-like thing in it. It
Look
was
at
white.
Look at it. It's got literally
A horn.
to like clamp you and eat you in your. This is the thing that horror writers should be writing about. This is what you can have in Japan because Japanese people are lovely, amazing, wonderful people who are also apparently fucking crazy because look at that.
They are very popular with elementary school boys in particular. The 8, 9, 10-year-olds will go out and hunt for them.
Look
And
at it. It's
I
horrifying.
got this
It's a free
plastic.
pet.
It's
I
horrifying.
got this plastic aquarium type thing, and I put my dirt and my little slug thing in there with some more dirt. I got a little log for it,
Oh.
and I just waited, and I forgot it was there. About 2 months later, suddenly I have a rhinoceros beetle.
beetles. Do you know what rhinoceri do? They fucking kill people. They can trample them to death or spear them with their horns, much like this beetle.
Yeah. And the
Oh
issue with my dog,
God.
too, if I were to do something like teach English abroad, is she does have bad separation anxiety. She's gotten to the point where she's comfortable if I leave her here at the apartment because she knows I'll come back here. She's learned that I'll always come back here. But like I've gone to my parents for the weekend and left her at their house and did a 20-minute run to get coffee for everyone and come back. And she freaks out.
Yeah,
That
that's
does
super
not
tough.
fair at all.
Yeah. And I have to.
She literally is like, "Oh, you live here?"
And
she does not care.
Yeah, I have to plan. I have I'm in a friend's wedding in July, so I have to plan what to do with her for the bachelorette party. So
if I can find.
And Lauren, you might enjoy the bachelorette party I'm going to.
Yeah.
So my friend's family has a farm. We are gonna camp on the farm because that was the most COVID friendly / cheapest option we could think of.
Look, you can get drunk anywhere.
Yeah. No, I'm like, cool. We are gonna get drunk at the friend's farm. That's pretty safe. It's safe. It's not too expensive because we just have to pay for our food and booze and all that. We can probably scrounge up enough tents for everyone between.
Oh, you're talking like glamping.
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's going to be at the friend's farm, so we'll probably have access to indoor, nice-ish bathrooms.
I would hope so.
Yeah.
I would hope so, because I would be like, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm going to borrow
over and not have access to a hot damn shower the next morning. Like,
yeah, I'm going to borrow like tents from my parents, so we'll just camp on their farm. Which I'm like, that sounds like
that's cute.
A lot of fun.
You know, I'm a strange person. So I'm really into like sustainability. And so I do a lot of antique shopping. Like none of the things in my house are actually like new. Like none of the furniture in my house is new furniture. Like everything is an antique or was given to us because we like to contribute to a cyclical economy. And, you know, my dad has chickens and like we have people who have gardens and like we're starting a garden as soon as we can and all of that. Because again, we moved into a new house and all. So it takes a minute to kind of get everything established. You know, so there's that part of me. Then there's the part of me that's like bougie AF.
Yeah. I have a mix
as evidenced by
Yeah, I have like a mix of like antiques. Like these are all things I acquired on at estate sales and Etsy.
Mhm.
They're all fashion plates. So that's basically my artwork. And I have like a couple antique family heirlooms. And one of my antique pieces is from friends they wanted to get rid of. They have a steamer trunk that their grandfather, the mom's like grandfather or
From World War II,
dad.
all steel.
Yeah, it's
In our
from around then, and it's when he used it to immigrate from China to here. So, yeah, so they didn't want it anymore, and they knew we'd appreciate it or use it in theater because I do a lot of theater stuff.
Jillian, do you have anything to say about sustainability?
I put that there because I didn't want to forget before the conversation moved on.
No, that's fair.
This is my bullet journal. Right at the start of it,
Clever, I love it.
I have the 12 principles of permaculture. So
I love permaculture principles. That is something that I plan to, like, as we're planting our garden in our new house and stuff, that we're trying to perpetuate is more of a permaculture garden. There's like a whole section of kind of our yard that's not covered in, it's got a lot of sunlight and drainage and stuff like that. So we can kind of help to cultivate it in a certain way. But then also, whenever we bought our house, there was like a lot of really random bushes that didn't have a purpose sort of on one side of the house. And I was like, I either want those to be like replaced with wildflowers to help with like the bee population and things like that. Or, you know, I want it to be something that is productive as far as like, you know, maybe a bush that produces a fruit or something like that. Because there's a lot of like front yard that's just like lost in a lot of different houses and stuff. And I was just like, you know, if we're going to have this land, like I want this land to be productive and healthy and helpful, like to our family and all of that stuff. And
permaculture is just great for that.
Yes, I love a lot of the tenets of permaculture. So absolutely.
So what I'm trying to do, like 2021 was going to be the year that I figured out how to write sustainably without burning myself out. In 2020, I had a full-time job in customer service. I found it super emotionally draining. And I just had completely burnt myself out. I got to this point where I was on medical leave for 2 weeks and I wasn't thinking properly. I could do took 2 hours to answer a couple of emails, a job that would take 15 minutes normally. It took me 2 hours and that was it. That was all the energy I had for one day. And I was like, this isn't right. So I quit that job to focus on my health. But when I'm writing, I have this cycle that I'll be like, okay, I'm going to be full-time writing. That's all I'm going to do. Easy. And then I start worrying about money. So I'm like, okay, I'll take some freelance gigs. I'll do this, I'll do that. And then suddenly all of my time has gone to chasing gig work because that's a lot of effort applying for jobs. You don't always get all of them. And then you get all the jobs at once. So you're scrambling.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, okay, enough with this freelance stuff. It's not getting me anywhere with my writing. Back to writing full time. I have no money. So this cycle was just stressing me out. And I'm like, okay, I need to be smart about this. I need to come up with the solution. I think permaculture has the keys to that solution because if I treat myself like I'm a finite resource and I have to use my energy in a sustainable way, I'm not there yet. That is the end goal. That is the vision.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a lot of things that you said that are very, very true. With me and my family, we're very blessed. We work very hard for what we have. We're sort of middle class, I guess, in America, but, you know, would be considered middle class in America. But, you know, between me and my husband, we have 3 jobs and it's very hard. You know, it's a time consuming resource. And that's not even including my writing and my editing services that I offer on top of
and
that.
raising
Raising
kids.
our child. Right. So it's like, it's really not even encompassing like everything. When we talk about our income is 3 jobs, it's not even encompassing like the whole thing.
Yeah.
But some
raising
of the
a kid is just a whole full-time job too.
Well, and another thing is like my husband and I, we suffer with infertility, and it took us 10 years to have our son, you know, and we had to go through IVF, and we had to go through all these infertility treatments, and we paid literally more than $40,000 in a year just to be able to conceive our son. And then we had a super high risk pregnancy where we almost lost him twice. And we ended up having to have an emergency delivery kind of thing, which all of that costs money, you know, obviously. It doesn't end at, hey, you got pregnant kind of thing. You know, it's all of the continuing stuff after that. And so I literally paid more in a year than I make in a year kind of thing just to conceive my son. And that's kind of crazy when you think about it. But like, that was always something that we knew we wanted and all of that. So what were the things that kind of got us through? It was frugality, which is something that has not been something talked about, you know, but was something that was super important to like our grandparents. My grandparents grew up in the Great Depression. And so like frugality was a big thing for them. If something's broken, you try to fix it before you toss it away and buy something new. A cyclical economy instead of a linear economy. So you purchase things or you acquire things and you make them what you want, you know, from like painting them, stripping them of paint, redoing fixtures that may cost $20 instead of buying an entirely new piece of furniture, like things like that. And then there's, you know, permaculture, victory gardens, right? Yeah. So like home gardens where you're like getting some of your groceries and stuff from that. So like these are all things that we integrated into our life, not just because it made sense for like the hardships we were going through, but because it made sense for us, like just as a whole, as like
just living,
yeah, right? Like, you know, if you can do something that's going to be maybe a little more effort, but it's not going to cost you as much money, and you have the time to do that, like, why wouldn't you just do that? For the sake of convenience, like that didn't make sense to us, especially considering the fact that like I work in cardiology. I have a pretty good job. I've had a really great job. I have great employers. Like we have great health insurance. Like it's a whole thing. Okay. And still throughout this process, there was a point in my life where we couldn't afford groceries. We couldn't afford food. I could not afford to go to Walmart and buy.
Walmart's super cheap, right.
It's like the super cheap to go to buy whatever. Okay. I could not afford to go to Walmart and buy a new pair of shoes. So I wore shoes with holes in them to work with patients for 6 months. And I prayed every day before I left to go to work that it wouldn't rain so that my feet wouldn't get wet. Like that was my life. That was my life. Like, you know, and then people go, well, how do you have enough money to publish books? How do you have enough money to do this or do that or whatever? And it's like, after that, everything was easy. You know, everything seemed easy after that because I went through the hardest thing in the world. I went through the most that you could imagine as far as like poverty and stuff like that, where I literally had to worry about having heat and I had to worry about having food and I had to pray that like it would not rain so my feet did not get wet, to can I afford to make a budget for this long-term plan? Absolutely. Because I knew exactly how much money was coming in and I knew exactly where it was going and I knew exactly what I wanted to spend it on before it ever came in or before it ever got spent. So it was like a non-thing for me, you know, like when it came time to like publish the book, I was like, I can absolutely do this in this time frame because I know
the budget.
exactly how that's going to happen financially, you know?
Yeah.
And
I
that
see
was
in the
something-
I
I'm
see
sorry,
in
I'll
the chat, Klacha and Jillian too are commenting on the how much it costs to have a baby in the US. And
Yeah.
you might know that I think the number I last heard is a normal pregnancy was $15K without insurance.
Oh, I think that is being very generous.
Yeah.
I think that's very generous. I found out people in the US have to pay to give birth in a hospital a few weeks ago. It gives a whole meaning to can we afford to have a kid? So, fun fact.
And then if you have to use IVF and all that for fertility, because my sister's a 2-time cancer survivor.
Yeah.
So were trying for a second, but then she got cancer again, so they stopped trying for a second.
Yeah, so IVF is not federally regulated in the United States. Insurances do not have to cover it. So my insurance obviously doesn't. One lab value to figure out why I kept losing babies because I had lost 6. One lab value with a doctor to figure out why I kept losing babies, to figure out if it was an underlying condition that I might need to be treated for, like a health condition that could affect, like, you know, my being alive, cost $5,000.
Wow.
Yeah. Luckily with my sister, they knew it was, she went through chemo and radiation treatment. So, but it was expensive, and they're probably not going to try again. But they have their one child, and they were hoping for 2, but that just didn't work out.
Yeah.
That's
hard. That's hard.
Yeah.
We have one embryo left. It's a grade 4 embryo, which is high quality, which is good. And that was done when I was 26 years old. So, you know, I was a lot younger than I am now, which is also great, which means it was a high quality embryo. So
I think they still have a couple embryos left, but they don't know.
Yeah, we have a 25 to 30% chance with the one embryo of being successful. And then we have an even lower chance of making it to full term after that. But it's still going to cost us more than $10,000. We've already lost about $750 just because we've tried to schedule consultations with the doctor to kind of get the process started for that last IVF transfer. However, with COVID and everything else, when the lockdown happened in the US, they shut down any non-essential medical practices like dermatology, infertility, anything that wasn't considered essential was locked down. And so we had to reschedule appointments, and we just you have to pay like a deposit just to see the doctor. Lost all that money.
Wow.
Yeah. Twice. So.
Yeah, and I know a YouTuber I follow, Jessica Kellen Bozard. She does vintage clothes. She talks about disability and being LGBTQ plus. Her wife is carrying their first baby. So she had this whole video, and they got delayed because of COVID. Mm-hmm. And they had a couple fails too. And so she vlogged the whole thing, but didn't publish anything about their journey until everything was okay.
Yeah, I feel like I would probably do the same.
Yeah.
There were several times actually, even during like the Wednesday night, like AuthorTube sleepover streams and stuff, like people did not know that I was like pregnant, or that I had or I was going through a miscarriage or losing a baby, or I had just lost a baby. Like people didn't know that because that wasn't something that I wanted like social media at large to know. I didn't want people to be like, oh, I'm so sorry, whatever. You know, like it wasn't about that. It was more about like my whole like personal family thing going on. But like that was another thing that was kind of like weird. Like even through COVID, like I lost a baby last year. And I was like on live streams every Wednesday, And like no one knew anything because I was just my normal, like, hi, I've got a crown on, and I'm just like doing hearts with my hands and like being Lauren and whatever. And yeah, so like that was another thing, was I didn't want anyone else to feel weird, but also like until I had processed things, it's like, you know, you don't want to give that to the public at large until you have time to sort of like sit with it and like deal with it yourself. But I will say that women's reproductive health is something I'm super passionate about. Also, I plan on publishing in the future a series of poems. It's a poetry chapbook, but 100% of the proceeds are going to miscarriage research and infertility help for couples who cannot have children. It's called Uninvisible Poems for the 1 in 8. And that's something I've been working on for like a while, but I've been like researching the different organizations to like provide the funds to for any proceeds for that, and sort of researching options and stuff. So I haven't really wanted to like talk about it like wide or whatever, but it's something that's sort of like teased on my website. But that's also something that's like in the works, is basically a writing book / project that is legitimately like all of the funds, like none of it will go to me. All of it is going to charity, because that's something I'm very passionate about, is making sure that, you know, anyone who struggles with anything like that, that they have support and they know they're not alone, you know?
Yeah, I have yet to go through that. But yeah, I'm sorry, Jillian.
Either one.
Okay, it is something that's very much not talked about here, and it drives me nuts because I have friends and family members who've gone through it, and I want to support them, and I don't know how. But the more people talk about this, the more awareness is raised. New Zealand has just introduced leave following a miscarriage, parental leave. I don't know if it's parental leave or grief leave, but it's
that's amazing.
So I can't believe that we didn't have it before. That this is not.
I had a miscarriage
universal.
at work. I had a miscarriage at work. They had to wheel me out in a wheelchair. One of the employees had to drive me to the hospital because it was a second trimester miscarriage. I had to have emergency surgery. I was out for 2.5 days. I decided to come back on the 3rd day against medical advice, right? Because I was just trying not to like be all in my head about it. My company said, oh, if you had stayed out that last day instead of coming back to work, it all would have been covered under your insurance. But because you came back, it's all out of your PTO. So you have no PTO left, and your check's going to be short.
Wow.
Yeah. That's the world I live in.
That's not right. I've had friends go through that second trimester. You have to you're gonna die if you don't get an abortion. Yeah, because basically the baby was dying inside of her. And then my sister it was just the end of the first trimester, so it wasn't too far. But she made like a little ornament with they knew what gender the baby was, so they made a little ornament with what name they were thinking of as part of the grieving process. Because they had already told my niece that she was pregnant. And my niece was only like 3 or 4 at the time.
Yeah, it's hard for kids to understand stuff like that.
So, but luckily she had to explain death previously to her. So we would just tell her, oh, they had to go to heaven, and you can only go to heaven when it's your time to go. Is how they but she did do that to kind of as a processing, and it's an ornament they put on their tree.
You know, okay, and we talk about pregnancy, and we talk about infertility, and we talk about losses. I've done all that. Okay, but like women's reproductive health like encompasses so much more, and like I've had reproductive cancers. Like I've had issues since I was 19 years old. Like this has been a struggle for me my entire life. And like when we talk about women's reproductive health, it's not just like for
the baby.
It's not just for the women who are like, I want to like reproduce. It's like it's for everyone.
So I've just recently discovered this YouTube channel, Jamie Dodger. It's this guy, Jamie, reacting to things. And one of the things he reacted to was Bad Woman's Anatomy. And Jamie is a trans guy, so he's got a really unique perspective on this. But it was basically going on Reddit, finding posts of people failing to understand how women's bodies work, or
a whole TikTok series.
Yeah, it was.
They just don't understand anatomy.
The one that stood out to me was this guy who is really grossed out by periods, and his wife or girlfriend said to him, you know, what are you going to do if we have a daughter? And he's like, well, I just won't change her nappy that time of month.
So fun fact, like infant girls can have a period. Like that is a thing. They can. A lot of people don't know that. They can.
I did not know that.
They can. They can. It's rare, but they can. But
and
typically that's not gonna be a problem for you till she hits puberty, Chad. Like what? And you're just not gonna parent your child? Like that's really great for you to tell your wife before you have children. At least she was warned. Like Jesus.
Yeah, there's some stuff where I'm like, I read things and I'm like, that's not right.
Right.
And like, I like my gynecologist because she's very knowledgeable and she actually acts like a mom, so I feel amazing going to her because I'm like, which is what I want in that situation. But yeah.
My doctor and I, like, we went through a lot. It took me 6 doctors to get to her, and I was like, look, I really need you to tell me. I rolled up into this first appointment with her, and I was like, look, I'm 19. I'm having symptoms. These are my symptoms. I said, I need you to tell me if I'm a hypochondriac or not. Thank you. I've been to 1 million doctors. Most of them were men. They brushed me off. Tell me the truth. Am I dying? Like, what's happening? And she went, these are all red flags. We should get you checked out. You're coming in tomorrow for testing. Turns out I had stage 2 cervical cancer.
Wow.
At 19.
I am a textbook case of endometriosis. Symptoms started at 18. I think I was 24, 25 when I was diagnosed. Because people just think, oh, okay, yeah, period pain, that's normal. It was not normal.
Do you know that, like, period pain can be literally, if you look at it on the pain scale, it's the same as the pain of a heart attack? Mm-hmm. And that's without endometriosis. That's not abnormal period pain. That's normal average period pain. And like what's crazy to me is most men don't know that.
Yeah.
Like my husband, unfortunately, I'm the kind of feminist. My poor husband knows way too much about everything. He had to give me like shots in my butt for like 10 years of my life. There is no shame. We got no shame. You know how like there was the shame bell in Game of Thrones, like shame, shame. It's more like no shame, no shame. We got no shame in this house. Okay. A beacon to everyone. Okay. Literally. So unfortunately, I'm the kind of feminist who
will tell everyone everything.
Yeah, my poor husband knows way too much about female anatomy for it to be like normalized, like ever. But he understands things and he appreciates things a lot more, and he's like patient about things, you know, when I might not be feeling well or whatever, when I don't think he would have been normally, just because he wouldn't have had a concept to understand it. And so like that's something I really love about our relationship, is the fact that like he has that depth of understanding.
Yeah.
He knows where I stand on things, but also like he knows sometimes when I'm just like not feeling myself. My normal.
And he buys you a computer.
You bought me a computer. What? Like, what was that? Oh, were you on that stream, Jillian?
Yeah, I think that was the first one I actually managed to join live.
Yo, I literally was like, I just fell in love again. Like
it was magical. It's just such a cool story.
I was like, what? I was like, who does this? No one does this. But like also with my writing and everything, he's literally my biggest fan. Like he has favorite characters in my book series and stuff that he like roots for, even when I'm like, I'm gonna kill them off halfway through, and he's like, you better fucking not, or I'm gonna make you sleep on the couch. Like he's like the biggest fanboy of my characters, but he's also like my biggest cheerleader. Like I cannot tell you guys enough. My husband, there is a reason that I am married to a man, and it is because I got the one good one left. Okay? The one good one that is left. He is mine, and
that's why I'm single. Because it's really hard to find the good one.
Like he's a good. He drives me crazy sometimes, as all the good ones do. And mostly because we have a very similar sense of humor. So when I'm trying to be serious about something, he's trying to joke about it, and I'm like, it's not the time. Like, wait until like 3 hours later, and then I will joke about it. But as it is happening, it's not the time. Like, his timing is off. But other than that, like,
I have a supportive family story to say. When I first started writing, I didn't tell my family what my author pseudonym was because I was terrified that they would find and read my stories. But I told them that I was published, and I told them, I was like, you guys don't want to read this. I've written a gay vampire romance. It's completely not your thing on many levels. My dad, who is, he is a boomer. He is, you know, a farmer in New Zealand. He's got quite conservative views politically. He went on to Amazon and looked up gay vampire novels, trying to figure out which one was mine. He may have bought some of them. He now is on my author newsletter. He has a copy of every book that I have in print.
I love that.
He is, it's just fantastic.
I love that though. That's so amazing to have people in your life that are just like, I don't care what you write, I'm gonna read it and I'm gonna support it and I'm gonna promote it, and that's just amazing.
I just want to say quickly, I want to know more about your gay vampires, Clatcher.
Yeah, tell us that. Tell us that. I have a book coming out in July.
Yes, you do. Buy her book.
Wait, what?
I said buy Lauren's book. Oh, that way.
All 4 of you watching. No. So it's a dystopian Western romance novel. And that basically means like Mad Max meets John Wayne, but like with spice. And I don't know how y'all feel about that. But what I wanted to say is, so my co-author, one of the inspirations behind like the Western elements of the book was actually the fact that like growing up, my co-author lived with her grandparents for a while, and her grandfather was like super into old Westerns, like old black and white Westerns. And he would watch them like on repeat all the time. And he's still alive. And so like when we finished like the final draft of the book and stuff, she sent it to him because like he's in the acknowledgement section and stuff. And she was like, look, it's got spice. Like, it's a romance book. Like, there's sex on a page. Like, you know, you're like in your 80s, you know, like it's. I feel a little weird about giving this to my grandfather, whatever, right? He loved it.
Yay.
Loved it so much that he was like, please, God, give me a physical copy. I want to read it again. I want to read it again. He was like, I don't know if this makes me a dirty old man or not. Like, I love this book. And it wasn't just the fact that, like, she wrote it. Like, he liked the book. And, like, I can't think of a better fucking selling point than there is a person in their, like, late 80s who is, like, like, on fire for this book. I'm like, yes! That is why you should buy this book, because people in their 80s like it.
I've got a better recommendation. An author friend of mine, Ada Maria Soto, went to a book fair in Auckland, and on her table, her sort of sign with her tagline was, she had a quote, "Surprisingly good, my therapist."
That's funny.
That's great.
Okay, let's go to the comments real quick because we've got a few. So Heather said her husband, because he was working at the cancer center where she was treated the year before, did understand many things about what was going on with me. We met while working there. That's amazing. I love that. I love that. Klacha says gay vampires and queens. Yes, I'm here for it. 2002. Well, not gay vampire. Okay. Let's see. There is one homosexual vampire protagonist. Let's see. Best kind of protagonist. Accurate. You've published a ton of books. How many books have you published, Jillian?
I think I'm in the 20s.
Wow.
Low 20s.
Yeah. Yay.
But a lot of them are novellas. Like,
person in this chat.
So this is the series that I've got most books in. You can see how skinny that is. That is 30,000 words. Most books in the series are 40,000.
Okay.
So, and I have 14 books published in this series. Gothic nonsense. It is so much fun and the absolute best.
Love it. Love it. That's insane. In the 20s.
One of those is a short story.
I've published one book. I have one more book coming out in July. My first one was 80,000 words, roughly. My second one, 130,000 words.
Wow.
I wrote the second book in the Guns and Smoke series in 26 days, and it was over 160,000 words.
Yeah. I'm not yet published. I'm still aspiring. I'm still working on that. But hope to get there one day.
Yeah. I decided to self-publish, but I actually had 3 different offers to publish Songs of Autumn traditionally. But
that is so cool.
In all of those contract negotiations, I couldn't quite get what I wanted as a debut author. They wanted to change certain things that I wasn't willing to compromise on. For example, the diversity inclusion that I have in the book. For the sake of mass market sales, they wanted me to tone down certain diversity inclusions, and that was not something that I was willing to compromise on, period.
Yeah, that's sad that they asked you to tone that down, because that's getting super popular right now. Diverse casts are
so if the main character is diverse, it's popular. If it's other characters, but it's not the main character, not as popular. I think potentially, this is a theory. It's not anything anyone's, verified to me, but I think potentially because it has the potential to be misread in certain ways, the way that plot lines could sort of like fall out or whatever. But for me, I did not feel comfortable with my debut writing a main character of color because that's not an experience that I have as someone who is not a person of color. You know, I didn't feel like I was the best writer for that. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that my books included diversity because that is something that's important to me. And it's something that is reflected in the world that I live in and the world that my son will live in. And that was something that like I was not willing to compromise on. I wanted to see characters of color in like leadership roles integrated into the world building in every aspect, like, you know, and characters of different sexual orientations and stuff like that as well. And that was something that they wanted me to sort of like pull back on, not exclude, but pull back on for the sake of like mass marketing books when I was in talks with a couple of different people for traditional publishing contracts. And I was like, nah, bruh. Nope. I will self-publish before I do that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Have a nice day.
I'm very much on the fence. I'm like looking at both, but I'm very much on the fence of which route I want to go in.
And it's personal for everyone. And there are pros and cons to both. You know, and just because I did not find a home for this story or series does not mean another story or series will not find a home that's supportive and encouraging and, you know, diverse and whatever. So I never want to perpetuate that, but
yeah. I love looking at pros and cons to the point where I can't make decisions because I keep going back and forth of pros and cons of the two decisions. I'm that type of person. So yeah, like 1 week I'll be leaning more towards self, and then the next week I like no traditional. So I just keep flip-flopping back and forth.
Yeah, for me it was about just reevaluating what my expectations of publication were. Like, what did I want to have as my end goal? Was it money? Was it fame? Was it, you know, New York Times bestseller? Was it all of that? Or was it about something else? And for me, I realized like through that process of like turning people down and stuff and thinking it was never going to happen. And, you know, just all the I went through some shit, all the shit I went through and getting to the self-publishing route. I realized, you know, for me, it was about telling a good story, connecting with readers. And it wasn't about money because I have a job that provides me and my family with the living that we need. Like, I have a job that I'm satisfied in, that I'm good at, that I'm successful in. Like that wasn't the goal. The goal wasn't let me quit my day job because I hate it, because I like my day job. You know, the goal wasn't let me try and get all this fame and money and accolades and whatever. It wasn't about that. It was about connecting with the readership and telling the story that I wanted to tell. And when I realized that, I was like, okay, self-publishing is my route, you know, because I know I can get there with self-publishing and I don't have to compromise the creative values that I would have to, because traditional publishing is also a business. And that's something you just have to understand when you're sort of navigating in that sphere, you know, and that's absolutely valid. Again, for certain authors and certain stories, not even to say that those are the things they would consider because everyone's journey is different. But for me, that's kind of what it came down to, was like, am I willing to compromise these story elements, you know, for the sake of, I'll be with a publisher, I'll get marketing, I'll do this, I'll do that. No, it wasn't worth it to me.
Yeah, the only reason I'd probably go with traditional is because I'm in a similar position where I'm like, I like my day job. I get paid okay. I'm a teacher right now. I'm public school. I have 3 interviews in the next week for private charter schools, which actually the average private charter schools pay less, that their teachers less, because they use their money instead for resources. So that's kind of the trade-off they usually do. But I think these 3 are pay okay. They do pay okay. So I have 3 interviews in the next week. Because I want to go back. I like the big kids. I want to go back to the big kids.
Again, everyone's publishing journey is personal. Everyone's goals are different, and everyone who is offered contracts, they're offered different terms. So it's really hard to say what's right for this person and it's not right. No.
I know goals will change throughout your journey.
Yeah.
And
the only-
different with each project too, it can be different.
Yes.
Yeah.
With each
At the
project,
beginning,
it can be very different.
yeah, at the beginning, I was more traditional, because my thought was they would do some of the business side of things for me. So I could just focus more on writing the books. I would still obviously have to do marketing and all that. But because I have a day job, that does take up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And my goal for writing is just to have a little supplement to my day job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my co-authored novel, I think that it was probably strong enough that we could have shopped it to traditional publishers. Like, that's another thing. I self-published my debut YA fantasy novel, but then I'm publishing a novel in a totally different genre with a co-author who's a debut novelist. And so that's a thing, is like I could have shopped that with those angles to traditional publishers, but looking at the book and how niche it is, it's a dystopian Western romance. It's a niche book for a niche genre. It's a hard sell for a traditional publisher. And I was like, I'm not even gonna attempt to get that pigeonhole in. I know how good the book is and I know how well it'll sell. I'm gonna get 100%, me and my co-author are gonna get 100% of the royalties. But there's nothing that a traditional publisher could really do for me as far as getting this out there, because the genre is
so niche.
Right.
Yeah.
So like project to project, it also differs.
Yeah. And
so, Jillian.
Yeah, I kind of swung the other way because I'm like, I want it to do it my way. So I'm gonna probably just save up to have a little nest egg. So if I do ultimately decide to go self-publish, I can do that. Just setting up an LLC and all that doesn't sound like.
Hey, I probably am going to do a video soon about budgeting for self-publishing and stuff. So
yeah, and
if that's something you're interested in, because
and I'm
you girl does that.
Yeah, I'm I in the Patreon group for iWriterly, and she did a whole breakdown of what she spent for her Patreon supporters. Because it was since it was very personal, exactly how much she spent, she just shared it with as an extra for Patreon, exactly how much she spent.
Mostly what I'm talking about is like budgeting advice, like doing a sample budget, talking about how you can cut corners, what expected costs are per word count, things like that, because I am also an editor. I'm a little bit more in those spheres to kind of understand what the going rates are for mid-level quality, not high or super low like Fiverr stuff, kind of thing. And so like a really more in-depth sort of like, how can you afford this? What are the steps you take when budgeting? What are the first things you need to do? How do you do basically an audit of your expenses, and where can you cut from your expenses, and how much should you be saving, and things like that. So I was talking more like in depth from like beginning to end. Probably I'm going to do that. I've been thinking about that for a while. I have a few different like workbooks and stuff that I've been working on as far as like doing sample budgets and like workbook pages and stuff like that, just because it's something that people ask me all the time, is like, how do you afford this? And I'm like, I ain't got money. So let me tell you, because I have no money.
Yeah. And I feel like some of that is, okay, what is the things you can't compromise on spending money on, and where can you
editing. You cannot compromise on editing.
Yeah.
You cannot compromise on cover art. People say you can compromise on cover art. That's bullshit. People are visual. And whenever you think about online marketing, right? Let's talk about online marketing, because 99.9% of people are buying shit online right now. Especially with the COVID-19 pandemic, it's even worse than it's ever been.
Yeah. I'm a visual learner.
What's the first thing they see? It's the cover. The cover gets you to what? The cover copy.
Yeah.
And that's something I did an entire live stream on, was editing cover copies and how you can make your cover copy the best that it could be, so that you could potentially turn somebody who looked at your cover, read your cover copy, into a sale.
Yeah. Because How I buy books, if I'm just browsing, if I don't have any specific thing in mind, I will walk down the aisles. If a cover jumps out at me, I'll read the blurb.
So a lot of it is
too.
market research. So like something that I did for, again, I'm going to use my Songs of Autumn example here. My cover is kind of in the background in that it's just sort of leaned against my book cover, my bookcase over there. But it's white. The background is pretty much predominantly white.
Yeah.
A lot of the covers in the same genre are jewel tones. They're darker tones. So the white would stand out against a lot of the more popular covers, right? But it still is typography based. It's symbolic because there's a symbol that's dark in the middle of it. There's a lot of symbolism and like integrated stuff like with the cover. I worked with a cover artist who was really savvy about all of that. And I thought about it in depth. And that's something that like that's converted to a lot of sales for me is actually the way
you
that
have a standout cover. And that's true. Because when I did my theater major, the thing they taught us is like at theater competitions, if you were doing a comedic scene in a theater competition, you would hope that the person before you and the person after you were doing dramatic scenes or vice versa.
Right.
So I did a theater competition once and I was so happy. I didn't move on to round 2 because they cut it. They go from like 700 to like 30 people from round 1 to round 2. But I was so happy that the group, the person before me and the person after me were both doing comedic scenes and I was doing a dramatic scene. So I was so happy.
Okay, so we're getting called out in the comments. Let's read some comments. I hope to finish the publication process for the 2 novels by the end of summer. That's awesome. Thanks, Heather. I'm glad I didn't compromise either. 9-Star Press. I wrote one novella from the perspective of a POC, but there was a big difference because she wasn't in an area where she would face discrimination. That's also a big thing too. Is sort of the world setting that you're putting a potential main character of color in, to make sure that they're being represented accurately and that it's not turning into a stereotype situation or a situation that feels culturally insensitive. Whereas again, with my debut novel, there is a lot of discrimination of different people and stuff that happen, not based on race, but based on like magic systems and things like that, because it's a fantasy world. But it could very easily have felt that way if I'd written a main character who is a person of color. And I never want to feel exploitative in my writing. And so I was just really conscious of that whenever I was developing my first book.
Yeah, my current, my new work in progress, there's 8 different countries. So there will be some of those racist elements, but I'm going to have my main character be the race that doesn't get discriminated against as much, but she'll have friends and people around her. So she'll see it. Because I don't feel comfortable as a white woman. I don't feel comfortable writing from that perspective.
Well, there are certain stories and certain things that you don't want to write from that perspective of, because those aren't your stories to tell.
No, they're not.
Like you would never write a person of color who was going through like the civil rights movement in the US in the 60s. Like that's absolutely not your place to be. Like, move on. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. This is not your story to tell. Thank you. Move along, kind of thing. Klacha says, now that I think about it, I never mentioned she was East Asian in ethnicity. It's merely implied by her name. So I have a little bit of this conundrum in my Guns and Smoke book that's coming out. My main character is biracial. But because it's in a dystopian society, she doesn't really understand that because she's not connected to her culture at all, because she doesn't know her parents at all. Like she does not know that she's biracial. She just knows she's a person who's gone through trauma and stuff. Like that's her living experience. And the other character, who is a perspective character, doesn't realize that she's Asian because he's grown up in this dystopian society where he doesn't understand that like other countries exist. So like he has no way to describe her other than it turning into a very stereotypical like almond-shaped eyes type thing, which we definitely didn't want. So it wasn't really discussed very much in book 1, but she is a biracial character. And then in book 2, when she kind of learns more about her past and like connects with more of her family, like it's discussed more, kind of thing. But yeah, so we allude to it, but it's super vague in book 1. And I think that that's appropriate for the world building, for the perspective of the characters, things like that. So I definitely think it can be done well. And it can be done not well, and you just have to do your research and get sensitivity readers. Like I had a shit ton of sensitivity readers, like a shit ton. And they all were like, it's fine. You know, like it's not overt. Like it's weird. It's whatever. Let's read a comment. Reads 3. Here's where I got called out because we had too much fun in the conversation.
Yeah.
See, I avoided cultural issues because I set the story 200 years in the future, where because that country is so popular, it became a cultural pool. Same kind of thing, like with dystopian. Dystopian is weird because it's like set slightly in the future. Sometimes after sort of the end of society, post-apocalyptic type situation, or just the end of society in some regards or the other. But dystopian is also satirism of everything that you see around you. And we, because I'm a co-author, we could have very easily leaned into like themes of racism and, you know, violence against Asian Americans and things like that. We did not. In fact, the society that we built was very Darwinistic. It was very like kill or be killed. So it was like the weak versus the strong, and all these other labels sort of fell away. So like if you were a different race or a different sexual orientation or different gender identity, like no one really gave a shit about that. They cared about whether or not you had a gun. They cared about like whether or not you were going to kill them for what they had. Like that's kind of the society we built, which is why it was a little like there wasn't a good way to broach like biracial topics and stuff. But at the same time, it was part of what I loved about the world building. But we did, however, even though we couldn't really have those themes be super pervasive, like there were things, it's a very dark, gritty world because it's kill or be killed. So a lot of things that are prevalent in today's society that aren't getting a lot of like, I guess, network exposure or whatever, like the Save the Child movement, human trafficking, things like that. Those are themes that are really, really, really in the forefront of this book. And actually part of the profits of Guns and Smoke is going to different organizations to help human trafficking survivors. And that's something I'm really, really proud of. It's actually coming directly from my royalties from the book. My co-author is a debut author, and so she was kind of a little bit hesitant. She was nervous. She was like, we don't know how it's going to sell. I don't really know how it's going to pan out, because she's never published a book before, and I have. So I was like, that I'm going to commit my portion of the profits of this book to like going towards that because I'm passionate about it. And she was like, okay, let's do it. So, so that's something that I'm super excited about. But yes, it's kind of like the world building dictates some of that.
Yeah.
Because you want it to be natural.
Yeah. It's that weird. Yeah. World building so important in that respect.
It informs so much, and it's like, again, it wouldn't have been natural for the characters to be like, by the way, she's Asian. Like,
yeah.
Because like that's not a thing that anyone in the world gives a shit about right now.
So
what they give a shit about is like, are you gonna kill me? Or are you not gonna kill me? Like that's what they care about.
The project that I'm editing right now that has an Asian character, and I didn't want to be like, oh, this person's Asian. I just did, or like do like the stereotypical description. Like I only described, oh, he has long black hair. Was one of the things. And then he's from the East. So I did because he's based
No, I didn't even do that. I mean, she has
Yeah.
long, pin straight, dark hair, and deep hooded eyes. Like those are things that are described at different points during the book. But I don't think people would connect them because they're really sort of diaphanous and vague as far as descriptions. But as far as like Bonnie goes, like part of what I like about her character is she's biracial. So she's not full Korean, first of all, but she's also really disconnected from her culture. Like her dad was half Korean, or her dad was fully Korean. Her grandparents were immigrants of Korea. Her dad was like first generation American Korean. So she, was the daughter of a white woman and this Korean man who, was an American sort of first, but had Korean immigrant parents. So he was more connected to his culture. But like she literally does not know them from the time that she's 6 years old to the rest of her life. Like, so she doesn't have a connection to that culture. And I think a lot of people who immigrate or are first or second generation American children of immigrants in the United States have a similar, feeling where they don't know the language or they don't know the culture or they've never been to their home country kind of thing, but yet they're still Korean American kind of thing. And so it felt natural as well in that aspect that she's like, I don't know anything about that. Like, it doesn't register with her,
Yeah. My dad's family immigrated here later, and they it was sort of that. So it was, they came from Lithuania, but in the immigration documents it says Russia because they came in 1900 and 1901. Like my great great grandfather came in 1900, and then his wife and then two of their children came the year later, sort of thing. My great grandfather was the first one. He was the third oldest, first one born in America. He changed our last name. So my real last name is actually an English last name, but it's my Lithuanian side of the family. And when I was picking my pseudonym, I thought about using the real Lithuanian last name, but I'm like, I can't pronounce it. So yeah, let's not do that one. So I went with all my pseudonym last name that is from my mom's side of the family. So I chose the English side of the family. But
it's really interesting you say that, because St. Kevin is a family name that has died out, but St. Kevin is also, it's not just the surname, but it is the name of the village in Cornwall where some of my ancestors came from.
Yeah, I almost went with the family name that died out, but I went the generation before because the family name that died out was Kane. And I didn't want to do AJ Kane. Even though it has a nice ring, I don't want to be next to Stephen King on the shelves.
Oh, I think actually you may want to reconsider that. I was at a Romance Writers New Zealand conference and we had Grace Burrows speak. And Grace Burrows she writes Regency romances, but she attributes her success to her name starting with a B, which put her between two really famous, well-known Regency romance authors. So her books were always on the shelves next to those authors, and she figures it was just a proximity thing.
Yeah.
She is also a very hardworking and talented author, so there's that.
Yeah. But yeah, so he changed our last name and because in the 1920s when it was like not popular to be Eastern European. But like my grandfather, he would say words at us at Lithuanian in Lithuanian, but like none of us really cared. None of us really learned it. My grandfather was the last 100% Lithuanian. And he died when he died weeks before my 5th birthday. I think the anniversary of his death is this Friday.
Yeah. So when writing, I think characters of different like cultures and ethnicities, especially for this character Bonnie, like even though it's really vague, like the fact that she's biracial and that she's half Korean and stuff, I think that it actually speaks to a lot of children of immigrants and like their experience in America as Americans, and like, the fact that they're like, well, I think I'm more American than I am this because I don't have this connection to my culture, but at the same time I look different and whatever. And there's not the discrimination that there would be in modern day America, in this book, just because it's a dystopian. And so it's a Darwinistic society. Like, people aren't calling her a chink, and discriminating against her because she looks Asian, because they don't give a fuck about that. They give a fuck about, do you have money? Are you going to kill me? Like, it's very like kill or be killed kind of thing. And so that was something that whenever me and Abby first wrote this book in 2012. And we put it away for a long time. And then I couldn't get the characters out of my head. And recently, in the last year or so, I messaged her and I had this whole proposal about how it needed to be like the genre needed to change. It needed a total rewrite, like all this shit. And I was like, and by the way, Bonnie's biracial. Like, I wrote her as like a basic white chick. She ain't. She is not. Like, she is clearly not.
The things you discover.
Yeah, no, there's no way that this strong, independent, amazing character could just be like this basic white girl. Like, she's clearly, a character of color. And I was lucky enough that my co-author was like, I'm on board with all these changes. Let's do it. And then we did the thing.
And now it's being published in July.
You're right. But could have gone a different way. But I was lucky enough it didn't. That she didn't go like, what are you doing sending me this formal proposal? Like, this is bullshit. Like, stop it, Lauren. You're insane. Because she very clearly could have. She probably should have. It was, I demanded a lot of things in that proposal. Very impressed that she even entertained the thought. So, but yeah, so I'm excited about it. Excited about it. I feel like everyone in the chat has pretty much gone to bed.
I was just about to say I'm fading, so I should get off. I have to
here, and I have children in the morning. Yeah, and we have one total person watching us.
Yeah,
it's probably Cletcher. Hi, Cletcher. Thanks for still being here.
I know.
Yeah, we've been like,
I'm going to call you out on all
4 hours.
You promised and did not do, like the writing sprints and the comments, because I got way too involved with talking to y'all and enjoying life with other people.
I know.
Want to talk to a toddler today.
I know Samantha Nassett. What she does is she does the break. Timers.
Yeah.
But yeah. So are you gonna wrap up overall, or I might just leave you because I
am watching you. I can see you. I am Scar's voice. Nice. Okay, so we're gonna do a wrap up. Let's let Audra and Jillian, my lovely co-hosts, who hopefully will join me if I ever decide to do a random thing again.
I would love to.
If I'm available, I'll hop on.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so we'll go, I guess, from Jillian to Audra. So let's start with Jillian, and you can do kind of your outro, plug all your stuff, all of the things, and
I think Cletcher has already found my stuff, so I've got a really easy outro. But I've actually I really enjoy the YouTube write-ins. I would love to do something similar myself because, June is Camp Nano, and I really need to finish the book that I'm not working on tonight. So I'm going to be trying to host some of these myself. I would love both of you to join me.
Yay!
But like, I know literally I have got Melon, which is kind of like StreamYard, and that's as far as I've got. I've got no music. I've got no visuals. I just know how to start streaming. So if
That's all you need.
if you do not mind me being completely unprofessional, then I would welcome you.
Yeah.
Little darling.
Okay. Hello, my name is Audra. I use the pseudonym AJ Withall, WITHALL, for my Instagram, and that is my words. That is my pseudonym that I have chosen. And also, I do theatrical costuming. I just got hired as my first costuming post-COVID. I'm and that's the meeting I had at 5:30. I'm so excited. So yeah, that and my costume is Noble Storm Costumes.
Before we disappear, Audra,
Yeah.
can you type the name of...
I will put them both in the private chat.
Okay, good.
Awesome. I'd also really like the name of the YouTuber you mentioned who does vintage costumes.
I will, Jessica Kellen Fogard. And I will put that in the private chat too.
Thank you.
All right. And I am Lauren Severe with my crown Moira on my head. It is late AF here.
It's late for me, and you're 2 hours ahead of me.
Yeah, and I have to like work in cardiology early tomorrow, so that's fun. Anyway. What was I saying? That was something important.
You were kicking us out.
Telling everyone goodbye. Thank you, Audra and Jillian, for coming on this stream with me. I am a YouTuber, author, and mom from down home Louisiana. Please subscribe to the channel, like the stream, do all the things and the stuff and the whatever. But anyway, I had a lot of fun, and I actually got some words written, which I wouldn't have done. I would have scrolled TikTok until I fell asleep. I'm about to crash like nobody's business. And that's all, folks. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.